Welcome to The Lounge, the Her Lounge that is, where we share laughter, life experiences, and heart-to-heart dialogue. I am Lynn.
I'm Juna.
I'm Pauletta.
I'm Queasy.
And we are
your four best new girlfriends.
Welcome to The Lounge, everybody. You know what it is. It's Thursday. This is the place where we connect with you through laughter, life experiences, and heart-to-heart dialogue.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, people.
Well, y'all see we all are here in the space and in the
accountable.
place. And today we're going to be talking about wasted time versus lesson learned.
Ooh.
And I was telling them before we even, began to tape that I had said to Juna, I said, I think it may be a decision whether it's wasted time or lesson learned. And she said, I think it's both.
Yeah.
And Des also agreed with her that I think it's both. And I think the reason why I said that is because I can't say I had to learn a lesson multiple times, because I really don't think, maybe y'all can shed light, I really don't think a lesson can be learned multiple times, not the same lesson.
Nah.
I think when you get it, you get it. Because if you got to keep being tested in
You're
that
not
area,
learning the
you
lesson.
haven't learned the lesson. So I think learning the lesson about that particular thing is a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I know that I've had to be spunt a couple of times to learn certain lessons. Like I had to go through something similar multiple times, or I had to be rejected multiple times by the same person, or be mistreated multiple times by the same person before I got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think that's kind of what I mean on that. So, Queasy, what's the stats on there? Are there stats on there?
It really wasn't any stats, but I can kind of just emphasize the meaning of both, or what the differences are between the two. So AI overview seems to be one of my favorite places to go.
I see.
But wasted time refers to a period.
What's funny about that?
I see. You see, it ain't just me that
Quoted
just laugh
that
at
regular,
everything.
quite
It's
regularly.
Pauletta too. But anyway, wasted time refers to a period where you feel like you didn't accomplish anything meaningful, while lesson learned indicates a valuable piece of knowledge or insight gained from an experience, even if it was initially experienced as a setback or a waste of time. Now, this other definition of learned lesson was by dictionary.cambridge.org, and it says decide not to do something again because it has caused you problems in the past. Okay, and one other thing that research showed is that while there aren't any specific statistics, that they've found this kind of diverse, I would say effect, that's the word I want to use, when it comes to wasted time versus lessons learned, that a lot of people are saying that they don't learn as much from failure as they do from actually just learning the lesson. This is what it says. Listen, it says a significant portion of individuals actually learn less from failure than from success, meaning not everyone effectively extracts lessons from setbacks. This is often due to the negative emotions associated with failure, making it harder to reflect and analyze
That makes sense.
the experience effectively. So the last thing that I will pull from this is that there are 5 steps to analyze whether you actually learned the lesson. It's to identify, document, analyze, store, and retrieve. I'm going to say those 5 again. Identify, document, analyze, store, and retrieve. And that's from asana.com. So what I saw from this is that a lot of things that we do talk about goes back to self-awareness. So how does self-awareness help you better evaluate whether you wasted time or you actually learned a lesson from it?
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying when you were saying that a lot of people don't learn from failures. I think,
Which I'm shocked.
but I understand what
I
they're
think
saying.
that's your greatest teacher.
Yeah, but they're saying that because only if you're self-aware
will you get
will
it?
you be able to process
Okay,
and
that's
see
good. I get it.
this is the lesson that you'll be able to move beyond the emotion of failure. You'll be on to get out of your head about this perfectionism, and you'll sit and think and be like, okay, see, this is what the lesson was. So I understand when they say that. Now I understand, because some people are not emotionally intelligent enough to look past
see
the failure
lesson. Yeah.
and see the lesson, But I was thinking also that even in my wasted time, I learned a lesson.
Right. Then I ain't gonna waste that time.
And I'm not gonna waste that time again. But why did I stay? What in me was connected to
The dysfunction.
the dysfunction and the no growth?
Right.
That you in a desolate place, but you still here.
Just stagnant.
Then I think about people who are in
Yo, for
churches,
real.
and I'm not trying to,
No.
but
Tell the
people
truth.
will stay in a church
Forever.
forever. I'm talking about that's dying, that is dead. They see no growth,
Yeah.
but will stay there because that's Mama and them's church.
Yep.
And so I think loyalty will keep you
Oh yeah, a lot of people
in a
stay
place
where
of
they're
wasting
needed
time.
too.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't understand how detrimental being needed can be.
Yes.
Just being needed
Stay
will
right
keep
there.
you places. And you don't understand, I'm here because they need me, but I'm losing me while I'm fulfilling a need for them.
Right. And then you're only focusing on that one part of you that you have to offer. So all the other gifts that you may potentially have lay dormant,
yeah.
and you're just pulling from this.
But then you also have people, I think, who are afraid to go places that they're not needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
You know what I'm
They have
saying?
no self-worth outside
Yeah.
of feeling needed.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily afraid, but just feel like because in order for me to feel
Accomplished.
being needed is
Some people need to be
something
needed.
that I
Yeah.
consider value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm right. Ty, look,
We finna
wait.
tie to that.
That thing right.
Sometimes people go too far. You will not.
Don't angle me like that now. Don't angle me like that.
When I say Judas just got
you.
triggered.
You don't do that.
Some people go too far.
But like I was saying, like some people
Just need to
find
be
value
needed.
in needing to be needed.
Yeah.
And so they feel like that, if I'm not needed, then I don't find, I can't find self-worth in that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but me thinking about what we're talking about, when Lynn was talking, the reason why I was saying that it's a bit of both, because I can't recognize it as wasted time until I actually learn the lesson.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't recognize it. I don't identify it as wasted time
Until you learn
until I learn the lesson. Right? And so because where the lesson is makes me reflect back on, say, okay, so this was essentially a waste of my time. So I won't do that no more. Let me see how I can move differently. I won't allow this person or this thing to occupy that much of my time anymore. I'm going to be able to so what led me, you know what I mean? That's a part of that. And so it I look at it as a bit of both.
That's good,
And
Joe.
the way you and
That's so good.
yeah, and so in the way you get over the regret of it.
Because I think that's the biggest thing.
Right.
You learned the lesson.
I learned
Like you
the
to
lesson.
give all your young years. I love to say young years. You in your 20s and 30s. Don't you sit up and give all your young years to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Who ain't valuing it.
Yeah.
You know?
But you
'Cause
won't know that
You
till you
won't get
40.
those years. But when I said till you 40.
You don't know that till you're 40.
And tired.
That lesson that one don't come. I don't care how old you. What happened? If you hit 40, that's when it comes.
You start evaluating.
Right. You start.
I'm almost there.
you start evaluating your time.
Yeah.
Really
Because
do.
I think it's something about arriving at 40 that makes you realize I could possibly have more behind me than in front of me.
That's
Listen.
what it is. That's what
And
it is.
it makes you see time differently.
And you like, I'm 40.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any more of those excuses. Like I won't be excused for my behavior now.
Right.
Now I'm an adult now.
Right.
Really, because 30 is like, you still.
You're coming into who you are.
you know. But when you hit 40, you're a grown woman out
I
here.
think when you hit 30, your desires change.
They
though.
do.
Yeah.
Your desires definitely
Yes.
begin to change.
Absolutely.
You know, and what was cute in your 20s, the
for
cuteness
showing cute.
starts wearing off
You show
in them early 30s. You know, and by the time you hit 40, I think 40 is like that evaluation.
It
age.
is. It really is.
Like it makes you. I remember when I turned 40, I thought I was gonna be able to have a party, and I had no money. I couldn't do. Like I felt so.
Defeated.
Yes.
I did too. I went into depression because my life was not turning out the way. Look, let me tell
I
you something.
never thought this is where I would be at 40.
And I started evaluating all them relationships. But waste. Trash. Like really.
And I'm gonna tell you this: 50 makes you be like, man, ain't nothing worth my peace. Nothing.
You think so?
Yeah, 50 gave me a okay.
People said when you turn 50, like you really know who you are.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you know,
what about when you see people who are 50 who don't know? Now you're talking about something that makes me sad.
that grind your
Is
gears,
seeing a 50 plus woman
making
or
some
man
dumb
who
decisions.
do not know who they are.
Yeah,
Like now that's
you been?
heartbreaking.
I think it's exposure. Exposure has everything to do with it. Exposure, I think, because
like dumb 50 look totally different than dumb 20.
but you can look at a dumb 50-year-old.
For real. Like dumb 20, we expect you to be dumb.
expect you to be dumb.
Dumb 30, we'll give you a little grace to be dumb. Dumb 40, we frowning. Dumb 50,
I'm
we
hocking
vomiting.
and spitting. I'm hocking
We
and spitting.
vomiting.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I mean, for real.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's exposure. It has everything to do with exposure. Like the more you expose to, the more you want, the more your mindset changes to what it is that you want to attain and all of that stuff.
I agree. I agree
know?
with that. And the reason why I agree with that is because you have some people, their journey started in, like, just say people that started early in marriage, like they fresh out of high school, married high school sweethearts. And sometimes that journey, and then life don't turn out the way they think, and so their entire adulthood was married life, and so then they're living singlehood at 50.
and they buck wild.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that speaks to that point that you made about exposure, because if you're not,
That's good.
you know what I mean? If that hasn't been your journey, like you ain't been single, like put it like this, like me and Pauletta, stupid at 50 ain't cute. Cause we been out here in these streets a long time by ourselves.
Too long.
You know what I mean? It's been us, and it's been rough. So
I'm coming
like
up.
really, it's been rough, and so we basically subject matter experts at this point
Right.
on what is on being single in these streets. At the ripe age of 40 plus.
When I say
No,
ripe,
for real.
And not have ever been married. And so, but in that lesson learning, in that process, I feel like I'm going to be fantastic once I get married. Like, I think I'm going to be a great wife. I think I am. I mean, I don't get no amens.
amen.
I
Amen.
think you are too.
Yay.
I mean, thanks a lot. That meant the world.
I can go forth.
Seriously, I feel like because I've done a lot. So I've done a lot, seen a lot.
You've been exposed because you traveled.
But it
you
goes back
lived
to
in different
exposure.
places.
But like I don't know, like I want to be but we talked about this before. Like he's gonna have to be patient because I'm selfish with my time.
I don't know how patient you want a 50-plus-year-old man to be.
I know, but I'm not saying
Because
like
you
I know
gotta
what I want.
understand that just as much as you're setting your ways,
He's
that
setting his
person
ways.
probably is
right
as
now.
well.
I want to be in a relationship. I
And
desire
ain't nobody
to be in a
got time to be
relationship.
chasing
you go
you and carrying on
younger?
at no
But
50 plus.
younger, how young?
You might need to go younger. Doing what you want.
Tissue.
Not no younger. He wants some children.
No,
Well, you have to make that clear in the beginning, but
because it's ain't nothing in there, baby. This is empty.
When do you think? Okay, so like if you're in a situation,
Fallopian, you two got a Kingo hat on.
What?
That's mine.
really,
Leaning.
In my direction.
Sorry. Focus. Go ahead.
Focus.
No, you.
So what do y'all think is proof that you learned to listen? What's proof?
That's a good question.
That I'm gonna tell you what it is. When I get into that situation, I be like, I see it. I ain't finna. I see it. I see the signs. I see the signs. I see this. I see that, and I make a left instead of going forward. That's how you know when you see the signs, and not only do you see them, you recognize them, you identify them, and you take action on them because you can see the signs and still go forward. But when you see the signs and you be like, I'm not finna go back down this road, and you make a left, then that's how you know you've learned a lesson. But if you're back in that same situation, then no, you didn't learn a lesson from the first time.
That's a good point.
So you did not learn the lesson. You won't know that you won't know as in the natural realm. Like until you take that test again and you pass the test, you be like, oh, okay, I learned. But if you fail the test on the same questions, baby, you ain't study.
But that perspective comes from maturity,
Right?
Right.
Definitely.
And so
Definitely.
You have to understand too. To me, the whole wasted time versus lesson learned is perspective. It has everything to do with perspective because in my maturity, I'm able to say I can find a lesson in every situation, right? But and maybe later in life I can look back and say, oh, that was a lesson. I didn't get it then. Maturity, to me, just has a lot to do with your ability to be able to say which one is it. But I will say that maturity sometimes is not always an age thing. And that some people, because like you said, you hate to see a 50-year-old fool, you know what I'm saying? But equally, sometimes you look at younger people and you don't know because of their exposure that they are as young as they are because they apply different. Right. They go after it different. Right. They have different, they've been exposed to people that just go get it and know the importance of wasted time versus learned lessons, and they apply it and it's making them money. You know what I'm saying? It's investing in their future and it's whatever. But that maturity can actually, some people can fake maturity though. In my opinion, there are people who try to make you think that they got it
and
together.
Ain't got Nathaniel
because to them it's an appearance,
right?
And it's not an actual application,
right?
Because you put them in a situation like you said, they still do the same thing,
right? And they did not learn the lesson.
But they can talk it well, and I believe that's the zone that we're in a lot when it comes to social media. Everybody got a clever saying. Everybody has an amazing post. Everybody knows what to say, but no one knows how to live it out.
And to follow through. You're
right. And so, I mean, everybody got these beautiful things to say, but nobody has the evidence that goes with it. So it definitely.
Evidence. Wow.
Yeah. So it definitely goes back to, in my opinion, just your level of maturity and your perspective, because negative, wasted time could be just a negative outlook.
But is there some lessons in your life that you don't think you would have learned any other way than you had wasted your time?
I believe so.
Absolutely.
I absolutely believe that. I've seen that in my life over and over and over. Just that waste of time is what gave me a little more time to grow up to see it. You know,
wow, that's good.
Yeah, it gave me a little more time to grow up and actually deal with life and just see, because sometimes my lack of exposure and me being sheltered caused me to have a limited level of maturity. I was mature in certain areas spiritually, but when it came to common sense and life,
I think you were just green. I don't think that has to do.
That's the definition of green.
You think green equates to immaturity?
Not immaturity, but exposure is everything.
I mean, I think you could be green because you're a lack of exposure, but I don't think necessarily.
You can be that green and walk into a lot of danger zones because you just don't know. So that still has to do with maturity, in my opinion, has to do with maturity, because if you're not exposed to it, how do you grow?
But if I'm not exposed to it,
okay, that's good.
right? But if I'm not exposed to it, I'm not held responsible.
It don't matter about you being responsible. If you're put in a place where that's something that would have been beneficial had you knew, but you don't know, you've never been exposed. Then how you gonna steward it well?
And then it does become my responsibility to a certain extent, because why am I staying somewhere where I'm not exposed? Like, when do I make the decision?
I mean,
but do y'all understand that there's people that don't realize they're not exposed?
I was one.
Because what they see is all they know.
That's so true.
But I was going back to Lynn's question, like where's the proof in, the lesson being learned? I think it goes back to what Queese was saying. Maturation is the proof. Do I move different?
Yeah.
What was the lesson? Do I identify?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So once I've identified what that lesson is, how do I apply it? Where are the opportunities do I take advantage that I can take advantage of those learned lessons? You know what I mean? And so, and to me, that's the proof. That's where that proof is, because I'm not making those same mistakes over and over and over again. I can make different mistakes, but not the same ones, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where that maturation is the proof that I have learned the lesson that needed to be learned in that particular situation.
I like that.
But let me say this too, like I can see people, I think sometimes too, sometimes we can think that we've learned a lesson and fall for the same thing manifested in a different way.
Ooh.
Like you'll see people who may have been in a marriage or a relationship where the person was abusive. And, they get up, finally leave. And, down the line get married again. That guy's not abusive, but he's controlling. But you don't even see control as abuse, because you feel you've learned a lesson because nobody's hitting you.
Wow.
And I think that learning the lesson is also learning the patterns. Because the same thing leads to the same thing. Right. It just may be different. You're not hitting me, but you're abusing me with your mouth. You're abusing me with control and emotionally. So I'm still being abused, which means that I only learned the lesson about one revelation of that.
Yeah.
Because I see that a lot. Where people are in an abusive relationship and they'll get out of the relationship where they're not being hit, but they'll get in a relationship where they're being controlled. And they don't even realize they're being controlled because, like, I'm going to say it like this. You're being controlled because you're not free to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're being controlled because you're not free to cultivate your gifts.
Yeah.
You're not free to do what you need to do to grow what God has given you. Or what's on your life, or your calling, or your dream, or your purpose. You're not being hit, and you may even be taken care of, being taken care of, but you're still living under a ceiling. Because most of the time when somebody is controlling, they're also insecure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to let you do better than them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I making sense what I'm saying? So
sense.
when you go from that stage to this, have you really learned?
Right. That's true.
Or have you learned the actual lesson of that the situation was intended to teach? You might have learned something, but it may not have been that.
I learned, don't let nobody hit you no more.
Right.
That's it.
Right. But that ain't the lesson. Right?
What's the lesson? I'm asking you.
I don't know.
I'm saying if you go from a situation where you're being physically abused to now a situation where you've been emotional, because control is emotional abuse.
The lesson is to heal.
What is the lesson?
The lesson is first you got to heal. Because see, if you don't heal,
this is the thing. Time doesn't necessarily mean healing.
But I'm saying.
So if this person was in a relationship, they were being abused, they get out of a relationship, they single for 4 years, and then they get in a relationship with somebody who's now emotionally. But just because you're single for 4 years
doesn't necessarily mean that you're healing. You know what I'm saying? But like what you're saying, but if I'm going to therapy, which is helping me to understand the triggers of abuse, because see, like you said, some people just think abuse is just hitting. No, like if I isolate you from your family and friends, that's abuse. But you just see it as I want you to myself. He just want to spend all the time with me. No, baby, that's abuse.
But it goes back to what you were saying earlier about on a different episode about when we talking about abandonment, right? Abandonment is the branch, right?
Right.
What's the root?
Right.
And so the root is where the lesson is. I think getting to the root of the matter. And yes, healing is a process. Yeah, we're gonna go through that. But what is that? What is that? Because dealing with that is going to help me not deal with anything that will cause me to be triggered.
Right.
Right down.
Right. Because see, if I value myself, then I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm devalued.
Yeah.
So from a counselor's perspective, if somebody is walking out of a physically abusive, and most of the time a physically relationship is layered with other forms of abuse. You know, it's layered with emotional, it's layered with verbal. All right. It's really almost all inclusive.
Yeah.
Cause somebody got to beat you down to be able to beat you down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you got somebody in that situation and they've came out of that finally, as a counselor, what would you tell them or subscribe them to do to walk through healing?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to childhood, and I'm going to see if there was any history of abuse in childhood. Because see, we need to find out what your definition of love is. What does love look like? You know, does love look like, you know, I could be me, but come back with a sincere apology and gifts, and then that's okay? Does love mean, like, I can say what I want to do, but as long as I'm providing, as long as you do, like, so that's we need to find out. That's gonna be one of our conversations. What did love look like in your household? You know, and then we're gonna go into, you know.
Do you feel like when you ask that question, that gives you
because
the root or the foundation?
Yeah, because a lot of people be like, yeah, you know, my mom was in an abusive relationship, or my father was abusive. You know what I'm saying? And or my grandfather was abusive. And sometimes it could be sexual abuse. Abuse is abuse, whether it's sexual, mental, physical, or whatever like that. And so when you get to that family of origin and you understand what happened in that home, then it starts, they can start to see the patterns. But a lot of times when you're in the relationship, you can't see the pattern. Somebody has to walk you through so you could be like, you know what? No, I didn't even look at it like that. And then that's how you start to see.
That goes back to your point earlier of exposure. Because if we take a few steps back, a lot of people never get to the point where they have somebody to walk them through it because they don't believe in therapy. Right. So the important thing is you can't just walk away.
Right.
You need somebody to expose you to the fact of knowing that you only know one part of this abuse.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You could be single for 7 years. But if you never go to therapy and, you know, or have that conversation, then you're going to go right back into that same situation.
Absolutely.
So while, you feel like you learned your lesson because you left, here you are back in a situation where he didn't tie-dyed his shirt. Come on. Mm-hmm. I tied that in.
What? I'm so weak.
Dyed it.
I dyed, yeah.
They talk about so weak.
Yeah. I'm like,
because she said... In the other episode, Juna said when she was spinning the block that, you know, she didn't realize that he hadn't changed because all he did was dye his shirt. He had the same shirt on, it was just a different color.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
See?
Okay.
We
walking with you now.
Guys,
we're
going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
We hope that you all have been enjoying the conversation so far, but we want you to continue to follow us on our social media platforms at YouTube and Facebook at The Her Lounge, on Instagram at Her Lounge Podcast, and don't you dare forget to subscribe to us on all of these platforms: iHeart, Google, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. Now, let's get back to the lounge.
All right, guys, we're back. And we all can jump in this, however. Have you ever self-reflected, like ever went back and looked on a situation that you regretted or that you like, you know what, I wasted all my time? Have you ever sat back and took the time to discover what was in you that made you stay in that? What was in you that kept you in that friendship that long? What was in you that kept you at that job that you knew you had way more potential, but you just stayed there? Like, have you ever stopped and analyzed yourself? Like, what was in me to stay there? Yeah. Or to even choose, like, even that person was ever even my choice?
Yeah. I'm going to yield to Pauletta.
I was just thinking like of a situation. I mean, I know I stayed in a church long because I wanted to speak in tongues.
I remember this.
We're going back to that story.
But I
not
can tell the story.
To that story.
I'm not gonna tell the story. You'll have to figure out what your favorite is. But I
love this story. Yo, ma'am.
But it was.
That's it. When the producer start saying the story. What show y'all know the producer
love this story.
Start telling the
but
story?
It was
from behind the scenes.
It wasn't a wasted time, because I wound up getting a heavenly language.
Did you self-reflect though?
But
so that was your only reason?
That was only because I was coming from a very traditional.
Learn her lesson.
I was coming from a traditional church.
I ain't learned nothing.
And I was coming from a traditional church, and I knew that there was something more. Okay. And so I found this church, and I was like, everybody else was, but I wasn't. So I was like, okay, this is the place for me. So I stayed there probably. And it goes back to what you were saying, how God has to rip us apart in order for us to, or tear us from something in order for us to leave. Because like, all it took was me to go to church one Sunday at another church, and then I had like a what's his name, a Ishmael spirit on me. I was just like, what? All I did was go to another church service.
Just visited somewhere.
That's all I did. I ain't joined. I sent my tithes.
Just one misunderstanding.
You know what I'm saying?
So his church didn't want you to go nowhere
at all. The Lord
like
only
to even visit.
Right. Only time the Lord would speak to me is if I was plugged in at this church. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I had become so blinded by something that I wanted that I was ignoring all of the, I don't want to say cult-like, but the signs.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
It is cult-like.
It is. Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
You can't visit nobody else's church.
Yeah, okay. So the cult-like signs. So I did reflect, like, and then I was close with the pastor's wife. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, loyalty made me stay. All of these things, and so I was purposing the next church that I visited that it would be totally different.
Let's tap into that right there. Mm-hmm. Let's tap into that. Let's tap into misplaced loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that
because loyalty can be bad too.
Yes, it can.
It can. And I was more, and I'm gonna tell you, I was more loyal to her than I was to God, because like I saw those signs. I saw the signs, but because I had developed this friendship here, I was like, well, I'm just going to thug it out. I'm a help it, all of this stuff. But it wasn't until I self-reflected that I was just like, yeah, you was finna be drinking some purple Kool-Aid with cyanide. Right. Pouring out libation. You know what I'm saying?
Go see the Raku.
Right.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Just spin all the way around.
I mean,
just spin all the way around. I love the laugh freely.
Christ. No.
Do y'all know who the Raku is? No. You know what? See, y'all watch TV.
That's what tickled you so bad.
Because nobody knows that. Okay, but anyway. But yeah, it was misplaced. And that's what kept me. That's what kept me. That's what kept me there. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until I got into a different place. I can't believe you said Raku. And people who are watching it, y'all gonna be falling out laughing when you hear it. But it wasn't until I got into the next church that when I saw, you're not gonna be snorting. That when I saw something, I left.
Because they taught you that.
Because it taught me a lesson. You know what I'm saying? Like when I went to the, I'm
serious. Hey, calm down, man.
because now, like, and I'm even in
You
this
done got
moment.
passionate about it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because I went to immediately afterwards. That same Sunday, I went to another church. And I stayed there and I worked there. And then I saw something and I was like, oh no, I'm getting out of here. Mm-hmm. I'm not even gonna
I'm not
stick
gonna play around.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Because nope. So yeah, I would say it's important to do, because in the lesson is in the self-reflection.
I like that.
The lesson is in the self-reflection.
I will say that just while you were talking, I was just thinking about one of the things that I've used to explain my life is that exposure is a passage to freedom. Healthy exposure is a passage to freedom. Why? Because I think about people who were born into families that do curses and hate people and stuff like that. Okay. And if they never get away and go get exposed, they think that's the way of life. They just think that this is okay. So I will say loyalty to family. That's another way of being loyal, because that's all you've seen. You think that this is right. And you don't know how deep bred that is in a lot of people, racist. We can go on and on about the things that they've been exposed to that is unhealthy. That's why I try to make sure I say healthy exposure. Because there are exposures that are not that are not good for you.
Right.
Okay. But you can learn a lesson from it, but that's a whole nother thing. But I will say that it's important to let them children become. And I think I didn't understand that even when it came to my own child, but my husband did. Thank God for balance. That he needs to become his own person, because he needs to be able to make those decisions when I'm not there. Right. And so he needs to be able to go out. That's why I know he got to go out to school. He got to get away from me, because he needs to be settled in these decisions, not just based on his loyalty to me. It has to be that you're grounded.
So good.
You're grounded.
It has to be your decision.
It has to be your decision.
Not we've made it for you.
There you go. Because then it's not rooted. To me, it's just a form of loyalty. So that's where loyalty can be bad, because I want him to be able to say, I stand on this. Even my form of how, because of Robert's balance, I didn't go at him spiritually. Like my people came at me spiritually. I said they were wrong, but I didn't. And I felt like I failed because of how I was raised. I was just like, man, this baby missed out on so much because I didn't push it like that. But what you get to see is that what you live before them more than what you
chose it.
There you go. And it makes I'm just like, oh my God, I thought he wouldn't listen. I thought I didn't do nothing. I thought he didn't get nothing. But I'm thankful, because that's him building his own. And there's so much more he got to build. So I will say that loyalty, I've seen it be a bad thing, but healthy exposure can bring you out of it. Yeah.
That's good. Juna, do you have a reference to that?
I think I don't have a reference. What I will say though is self-reflection is good anyway, right?
Yes.
Because to me, it's your here's this word again, responsibility to be able to identify the things that you could have your role in the demise or your role in the chaos,
even if the role was enabling.
Right. Yeah. So self-reflection is good, because it gives me the opportunity to go back and see how I moved.
Yeah.
And where I could have moved differently, that could have may have resulted in a different outcome. Then again, may not. But me being able to reflect on my role, my taking accountability for my actions, so that I can be mindful of that moving forward, right? And so I think it's important that even in self-reflection, that I'm really, really being honest with myself about how I've moved and the stuff. And what I will say is that in self-reflection, what I've discovered is some stuff that was hidden from myself. When I've allowed myself to really sit with me. Okay.
And it's admitting.
And really sitting with me.
How much it's admitting how easy I made it for the other person to waste my time.
Wow.
Like I made it easy.
Whoa.
Either I made it easy by enabling, or I made it easy by devaluing.
Right. Or detaching and just letting it be.
And just letting, because it's a lot of that too.
Wow.
It's a lot of that too. Wow. Wow. Is it possible to currently perceive and experience as wasted time and later in life look back on it and say, no, I needed that to happen to me so that I could grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the lesson, you realize that I learned the lesson.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did I stay past the expiration date? Yes, but I learned the lesson. And I think that's what allows you not to dwell in the past of your mistakes.
Or the regret.
Or the regret. You know, when you
I know I can be so hard on myself. Like, just be like, you big dummy. You know?
Yeah, but I think it's all in, learning the lesson and identifying the lesson will help you stay out of that pity party and that I can't believe I made that decision. You know, the shame, the guilt. It'll help you move past all of that. Definitely.
I agree. All right, Jenna, our question of the week, child.
What lessons have you learned from your experiences with wasted time?
All right, guys, that's the question that continues the conversation on all of our social media platforms at the Her Lounge Podcast or Her Lounge Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye everybody.